Beneath the twin moons that glowed like burning eyes over the horizon, the world of Velra trembled as if it sensed the coming storm. The sky shimmered with streaks of silver light as the dying stars of the northern belt fell like tears of a forgotten god. Among the ruins of the old citadel, a young warrior named Xyra knelt, her obsidian armor, cracked from countless battles, her gaze fixed on the silent horizon that once burned with the pride of her. Peopled at Velra had once been a place of song and harmony. Rivers sang across crystalline plains, and towers of white stone reached into the heavens as though defying mortality itself. But those days had faded when the twin moons turned blood red and the emperors of the starbound dominion unleashed their iron fleets upon the world. Xyra had watched it all fall, her father slain, her mother taken, and her people scattered among the dust. Yet in her chest something still burned a fire that no empire could extinguish. The whispers of the Ascendants spoke of a weapon older than the stars, a relic of creation hidden deep beneath the crust of Velra. It was said that whoever awakened it would become more than mortal. They would rise beyond the boundaries of flesh and time itself. The Dominion feared it, yet sought it, and in that hunt, entire worlds had fallen. Now Xyra carried the last fragment of the sigil that could open the vault of the ancients. The fragment pulsed softly at her side, a shard of starlight, etched with the runes of the old ones. She did not yet know why it chose her, but she could feel its call like a heartbeat echoing through the cosmos. As dawn bled across the broken plains, a voice spoke behind her, low and familiar. "Still chasing myths, Xyra," said Kale, the rogue pilot, whose eyes gleamed like molten glass. His ship, the Emberblade, hovered behind him, its hull scarred yet defiant. "The Dominion's trackers are closing in. You will not make it to the crater alive." Xyra rose slowly, brushing dust from her armor. "Let them come. I no longer run from the Dominion. I end it." Kale smiled faintly. "You sound like your father once did before they burned the Sky's citadel." "He failed because he hesitated," she said, her voice quiet but edged with fury. "I will not." Cal stepped closer. "You do not understand what lies in that crater. I have seen the maps. The energy signatures twist the laws of physics. The vault may not be a vault at all. It could be a living thing." "Then let it breathe through me," Xyra said as the winds howled around them. "For Velra's blood still cries beneath these skies." The twin moons brightened as if they listened. They rode together across the barren plains, the Emberblade gliding low over the scarred land. Vast skeletons of starships lay half-buried in the sands, their ancient insignias glowing faintly with dying power cores. Each wreck was a monument to the war that devoured 1,000 civilizations. Kale watched the readings on the console. "Power surges ahead. Electromagnetic interference at level 9. We are entering the vault field." The ground below shimmered. Mountains curved like liquid light, and the stars above bent around a sphere of shadow floating at the center of the crater. The vault of the ancients. It pulsed with an otherworldly rhythm like the breath of a sleeping god. Xyra stepped forward as the Emberblade touched down. The shard at her side flared so brightly that it nearly blinded them. The air hummed, and a voice echoed not from around them, but from within. "Child of fire, child of ruin, do you seek dominion or deliverance?" Xyra felt the world spin. She dropped to her knees, clutching her head. "I seek neither. I seek freedom." The shadow expanded, forming a doorway of silver fire. Kale shouted her name, but she was already walking into the light. Within the vault, she saw visions, her people before the fall dancing beneath the twin moons, their laughter weaving into the wind. She saw the Dominion fleets crossing the void, bringing destruction with every breath. And then she saw herself standing atop the ruins, holding a blade of light so bright it could cleave stars. The voice spoke again, softer this time. "Then rise, Ascendant, for your trial begins." The ground shattered, and the light consumed her. When she awoke, Kale was gone, and she stood within a vast cathedral of glass and flame. In the distance, figures moved. Tall beings with translucent skin and eyes that shimmered like galaxies. They were not alive yet not dead either. They were the remnants of the old ones, their essence trapped in eternal reflection. One stepped forward, its form shifting with the flow of time. You have entered the heart of creation, Xyra of Xyra. To wield the Ascendant Blade, you must face the memory of all that was lost. Only by conquering the echo can you ascend. The ground rippled, and suddenly she was standing before her younger self, the child who watched her mother die, the girl who could not save anyone. The echo looked at her with sorrow. "Why do you still fight?" it asked. "You cannot bring them back," Xyra trembled. "Because their voices still live in me." She drew her blade and stepped forward. The duel began not of steel, but of spirit. Each strike unleashed bursts of light that shattered illusions of the past. With every blow, Xyra's grief became strength, her pain becoming resolve. At last, she drove her blade through the echo's heart. The cathedral erupted in light, and she felt her body rise weightless, free of gravity, free of flesh. The shard at her side dissolved into her chest, merging with her essence. The Old One's voices whispered in unison. "The ascension has begun. But beware, child, for power invites the gaze of the Dominion, and even the stars may tremble before what you will become." Outside the crater, the sky split open. Dominion fleets emerged in formation, their engines roaring like 1,000 storms. Kale's voice crackled through the comms. "Xyra, get out of there. They have found you. The Emperor himself leads the assault." Xyra stood beneath the light of the twin moons, her armor now glowing with veins of radiant silver, her eyes reflecting galaxies. "No, Kyle," she said. "Let them come." The moons darkened as the first barrage fell upon Velra. The war for the stars had begun. The sky of Velra screamed as the Dominion descended from the void, their fleets burning trails of crimson across the twin moons. The earth split from the shock waves, the air thick with dust and static fire. From the ridges above the crater, Xyra watched the legions deploy towers of black iron, unfolding like serpents striking the soil. Each tower pulsed with the Dominion's dark energy, the same force that devoured worlds. Kale's voice cut through the static. "They are deploying planetary anchors. If they root them into the core, Velra will collapse within hours." Xyra's armor glowed faintly, the silver veins pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. "Then we stop them before they take hold." The ember blade soared into the sky, its engines roaring like thunder as Kale weaved through enemy fire. Plasma bolts streaked past their hulls, scorching the night. Xyra leapt from the open bay, her body wrapped in radiant energy. She crashed through the Dominion's forward line, her blade, carving arcs of white fire that split the air. Each strike felt lighter than the last, as if the blade moved of its own will, guiding her beyond mortal limits. The Dominion soldiers shouted warnings in their mechanical tongues, yet she moved faster than their sensors could track. Within minutes, the first tower fell, torn apart by the pulse of her power. Kale landed beside her, his face streaked with soot. "Whatever that vault did to you, it made you into something else." Xyra turned her gaze toward the horizon, where the largest of the towers rose like a black mountain. "It did not make me something else, Kale. It made me what I was meant to be." They advanced through the war zone together, the night alive with explosions and screams. The Dominion unleashed their war beasts, bioengineered constructs of steel and flesh that walked on 6 limbs and fired beams of molten energy. Xyra moved through them like wind through fire, each swing of her blade leaving only ashes behind. When they reached the last tower, they found it guarded by a single being. Clad in armor of obsidian gold with wings of plasma unfurled behind him, he descended from the clouds with the calm of a god. His voice rolled like thunder. "Xyra of Velra, you stand against the eternal Dominion. You stand against the Emperor himself." Kale's eyes widened. No one has ever seen him outside his throne world. The Emperor's face was hidden behind a mask shaped like a star's core. Energy rippled from his presence, bending the air. "You carry the mark of the Ascendant. The Old Ones whispered that such power would rise again, but I will end this heresy before it spreads." Xyra raised her blade, her voice steady. "You cannot end what you do not understand." The Emperor's laughter echoed through the battlefield. "Then show me." Their blades met, and the world shattered. The shockwave leveled mountains, vaporizing stone into light. Kale was thrown backward as reality itself twisted from the force of their strikes. The twin moons flared above, reflecting the clash of their energy, one burning silver, the other blood red. Each movement became faster than thought itself. The Emperor struck with the fury of collapsing stars, each blow bending gravity, but Xyra parried with impossible precision, her power growing with each heartbeat. She felt the whispers of the Old Ones guiding her, through the chaos weaving their will into her motion. At last the Emperor drove his blade through. Her chest and the world froze. Kale screamed, but no sound reached his lips. Xyra looked down at the wound, her armor glowing brighter than the sun. She smiled faintly. Now I see. She reached out, touching the Emperor's blade. Energy burst from her hand, spreading like ripples across the stars. The wound sealed, and her aura flared until it consumed the battlefield. The Emperor staggered. Impossible! Xyra's voice resonated across the skies. I am the echo of those you destroyed. I am the will of Xyra, and I am not bound by your dominion. The explosion that followed could be seen from orbit. The Emperor was thrown across the crater, his armor cracking, his wings fading into mist. Yet he rose, his eyes burning brighter than ever. You think you have one child, but you have merely awakened the storm. The dominion will not fall by one blade. He vanished into light, leaving only silence and ash. Kyle rushed to her side, helping her stand. You survived what no one could, but he will return. Xyra looked to the heavens. Then I will be ready. Above them, the twin moons pulsed in unison for the first time in 1,000 years. The balance between them shifted, and something ancient stirred within the fabric of space. Kale frowned as the Emberblade's sensors screamed. Massive energy surged from the outer orbit. A structure is emerging. It's not a ship, it's a gate. Through the clouds, a vast ring of crystal and metal unfolded, spanning the horizon. Within its center, stars seemed to twist into a vortex of living fire. Voices whispered through the comms, ancient and sorrowful. Xyra closed her eyes. The Ascendant Gate, the next step. Kyle shook his head. If you go through that, you may never return. She looked toward the gate, the wind tearing at her armor, the world behind her burning yet alive. Then I go not for return, but for truth. Kyle sighed, gripping his weapon. Then you do not go alone. Together they boarded the Emberblade and soared toward the swirling gate. As they entered, the vortex, colors beyond imagination engulfed them. Sound became light, time dissolved into memory. Xyra felt her body stretch across eternity, then contract into silence. When she opened her eyes, she stood in a realm that was not space nor time, but something in between. The sky shimmered with flowing constellations, and rivers of starlight curved through the void like veins of a cosmic being. In the distance, a city floated upon the back of a sleeping giant, its towers glowing with the breath of creation. And from its heart came a voice both ancient and kind. Welcome, Xyra. The ascension is not an end, but a beginning. Step forward and face the truth of the stars. The air shimmered like glass as Xyra stepped through the luminous mist, her feet touching nothing yet, leaving ripples of light behind. Around her, the stars were alive, each one breathing slow and deep, as though they dreamed together within the heart of creation. The city ahead rose upon waves of starlight, its towers made not of stone but of memory, each wall shifting to reveal faces, voices, and moments long forgotten by mortal minds. Kale stood beside her, his voice soft. Where are we, Xyra? This place feels like thought given form. Xyra's gaze lifted to the distant spires. This is the nexus of the Old Ones, the place where gods were born and where their silence began. They walked across a bridge that shimmered beneath their steps. Beneath the bridge, the void rippled with visions of worlds now lost. Oceans boiling under dying suns, forests turned to glass cities, crumbling under the weight of time. Each vision whispered a truth, and every truth cut deeper into the heart. A figure waited at the gate of the city. It wore robes of living starlight, its face hidden behind a veil of silver fire. When it spoke, its words carried both warmth and sorrow. Xyra of Xyra, you have crossed the threshold. Beyond this gate lies the heart of the Ascension, where all who seek power must face themselves. Xyra nodded. I am ready. The figure raised its hand, and the gate unfolded into 1,000 wings of light. Kale stepped forward, but the figure's voice halted him. "You may not follow, pilot. Your path remains within the mortal veil." Kale clenched his fists. "Then she walks into eternity alone." Xyra turned and placed a hand upon his shoulder. "No, Kale, not alone, for every step I take carries those who believed in me." The wind rose around them, carrying her words like embers into the stars. She stepped through the gate and the world dissolved. She found herself standing on a vast plain beneath an endless sky. At first it was silent, then shapes began to form around her. Shadows of every life she had touched, every soul she had failed to save. Her father stood among them, his eyes filled with pain. "You left us," he said, his voice echoing across the horizon. "I fought for you," she answered. "You fought for vengeance, not for peace." The shadows closed in, whispering her name over and over until it became a storm. Xyra fell to her knees. "What do you want from me?" From the light before her emerged her reflection, not the warrior but the child she once was, small, afraid, her eyes bright with tears. "You seek to carry the pain of all Velra, but you cannot bear even your own. Let it go, Xyra. Power without peace is destruction." The ground beneath them cracked, revealing the stars below. She could see the Dominion fleet still moving across space, their dark energy spreading like infection. The reflection extended its hand. "To ascend, you must forgive yourself." For a long time she was silent. The wind stilled. Then she took the reflection's hand. The sky ignited. Flames of pure light erupted around her, consuming the shadows and the pain. Her armor dissolved, replaced by a radiant aura, her body no longer bound by matter. She rose into the air, weightless, her eyes glowing with the knowledge of the cosmos. The voice of the Old Ones returned, surrounding her like a chorus of worlds. "You have faced the echo of sorrow and emerged whole. The final gate awaits beyond the river of time. There you will meet the truth of the Dominion and the destiny of all stars." The plane folded into itself, and she found herself once more before the City of Light, but now it trembled. The towers shuddered, and fragments of memory fell like broken glass. Kale appeared through the gate, his face filled with fear. "The gate is collapsing, Xyra. The Dominion has breached the rift. Their ships are pouring through." "They are coming here." Xyra's eyes widened. "They followed us through the Ascendant Gate." A deep voice rolled across the sky. "You could not escape me, child of Velra." The Emperor emerged from the storm, his armor reforged, now woven with the same energy that filled the realm. Behind him, the Dominion fleet pierced through the fabric of the stars like a swarm of burning insects. Kale drew his weapon, though he knew it would do nothing. How is he even alive? Xyra's gaze hardened. "He is bound to the same power I now wield. The Ascension cannot destroy him, only complete him." The Emperor's laughter shook the air. "You speak of completion, yet you do not understand the cost. The Old Ones created this realm not for salvation, but for control. Every Ascendant becomes their vessel. And now you shall be mine." He raised his hand, and chains of pure energy erupted from the ground, binding her. The light that once flowed freely through her body began to twist and darken. She felt the Old One's whispers turn from guidance to command. "Join him, Xyra. Together you will sustain the stars. There is no freedom from creation." Her scream echoed through the void. Kale ran to her side, but the Emperor struck him aside with a wave of force. "Do you see, mortal? This is the fate of all who touch eternity." But in that moment, Kale's hand brushed against the shard embedded in her armor, the last remnant of the sigil. It pulsed once pure and bright. Xyra gasped, and the chains shattered. The Emperor staggered back, his mask cracking. "What have you done?" Xyra rose, her light burning brighter than before. "I have chosen," the sky itself responded. Rivers of light curved toward her, merging into her aura. The realm trembled under her presence. The Old Ones' voices screamed, then fell silent. Xyra looked upon the Emperor and saw not a god, but a lost soul devoured by his own hunger. "You seek to rule what was never yours. The stars do not belong to those who chain them." She raised her hand, and light poured from her palm, forming the Ascendant. Blade once more, but now it shimmered with the essence of every fallen. "Star!" The Emperor roared and charged forward, their clash shaking the foundation of the realm. Kale could only watch as the two beings collided again and again, each strike erasing galaxies in the distance. At last, with a single motion, she drove the blade through his core. The Emperor's armor shattered his form, unraveling into fragments of light. For a moment, his voice softened. "Perhaps you were always meant to succeed me." He vanished, leaving behind only a single spark that drifted into her hand. The realm quieted. The rivers calmed. The city began to heal. Kale approached slowly. "Is it over?" Xyra looked to the distant horizon, where the twin moons of Velra appeared once more, now shining peacefully within the reflection of the realm. "No, Kyle. This is the calm before the true awakening," he frowned. "Then what comes next?" She turned her gaze to the rising light beyond the veil. "The union of all worlds. The final test." Silence spread across the endless sky of the ascendant realm as if the stars themselves held their breath. Xyra stood at the edge of the floating city, her blade glowing softly in her grasp. Around her, the shattered fragments of the Emperor's essence drifted into the void like sparks fading from a dying flame. Yet deep within that silence, something stirred. Kale stepped beside her, the weariness of countless battles etched in his stance. "You did it, Xyra. You ended the Emperor. The Dominion has lost its heart." She looked at him, her eyes shimmering with the reflection of distant suns. "He is gone, yes, but the Dominion was never just one man. It is the echo of fear that lives in all who seek control. As long as that fear remains, the war will return." Kyle frowned. Then what must be done? Before she could answer, the sky tore open. Two vast streams of energy spiraled downward, one silver, one crimson, twisting together like serpents in a dance of creation. From their union formed a shape vast and luminous, the reflection of the twin moons themselves manifesting within the ascendant realm. The voice of the old ones returned, no longer cold or commanding, but mournful and weary. "The balance has been broken, child of Velra. The fall of the Emperor has awakened the core of duality. The moons call for their ascension, and if left unchecked, they will devour the mortal stars." Kyle gripped his weapon, though he knew it was useless. "What do they mean, devour?" Xyra lifted her blade. "The moons are not stones, Kyle. They are living fragments of the ancient creators. They slumbered until now, bound by the Dominion's corruption. With the Emperor gone, their hunger awakens." From the horizon, the energy coalesced into two figures, vast beyond measure, each the embodiment of a moon. One radiated gentle silver light, the other bled crimson fire. Their voices merged in a chorus that shook the stars. "Daughter of the Veil, you have broken the chains of dominion. Yet to restore harmony, you must choose which light shall remain. One moon must fade for the other to live." Kale stepped forward, his eyes wide. "They want you to destroy one of them," Xyra's heart clenched. "If I do, the balance ends. If I do not, the worlds will burn." The silver figure extended its hand. "Choose me, child, and peace shall reign eternal." The crimson one's fire blazed higher. "Choose me, and life shall never fade, though chaos will walk beside it." She felt their power tugging at her spirit, one pulling toward serenity, the other toward passion and change. The choice tore through her soul. Kyle placed his hand upon her shoulder. "You once said freedom was your only goal. Maybe the answer is not to choose between them, but to free them both." Xyra's eyes widened. "Free them," he nodded. "If the Dominion built its empire on control, then let your ascension be its opposite. Give even the moons their will." The idea struck her like lightning. She stepped forward, raising her blade high. The silver and crimson giants loomed above her, their energies colliding in violent storms of light. "I will not choose between peace and chaos. I will choose harmony through freedom." The blade split into two streams of energy that shot upward, piercing each moon figure through the heart. The shock wave that followed was beyond comprehension. The city shattered into fragments. The rivers of light turned into raging torrents of creation. Kyle was thrown backward, gripping the remains of the bridge as reality twisted around them. Xyra hovered in the center of the storm, her aura expanding until she became indistinguishable from the light itself. Her voice echoed across time. "Be free!" The silver and crimson beings screamed not in pain, but in release. Their forms dissolved into waves of radiance that spread across the cosmos, mending broken stars, healing fractured worlds, and silencing the cries of ancient wars. Velra's surface glowed far below as its lands healed the rivers, returning the skies clearing. The Dominion's fleets fell still, their power cores extinguished, their weapons silent. Across countless systems, the slaves of the Empire lifted their heads in wonder as the stars burned clean once more. Kale watched from the ruins, his voice breaking. Xyra. From the center of the storm, a single figure descended, surrounded by light that shimmered like dawn. She touched the ground, her form once more human, though her eyes carried galaxies within them. Kale ran to her. "You survived," she smiled softly. "I am no longer what I was. I am part of what remains." He looked at the sky where the twin moons now glowed together in balance, their light neither red nor silver but pure white. "You did it." "You united them." She nodded. Balance was never about choosing sides, Kale. It was about understanding both. They stood together as the first true dawn in centuries rose over Velra. From the horizon, survivors began to emerge, soldiers and refugees, humans and aliens, once divided now staring upward at the same sky. The wind carried no screams, only the quiet hum of renewal. Kyle looked at her. "What will you do now?" Xyra turned toward the twin moons. "The realm between worlds still lives within me. I must guard it so that no one ever seeks to control it again. But Velra needs a new dawn, and that dawn must come from those who live, not those who ascend." He smiled faintly. "Then let this be your legacy." She placed her hand upon his chest, the light from her fingers sinking into his heart. "No, Kyle, it will be ours." The air shimmered around her form, as if the wind itself tried to hold her. Slowly, her body began to fade into streams of starlight, rising toward the heavens. Kale reached out, but she shook her head gently. "Do not mourn. I am not leaving. I am becoming." Her last words whispered across the plains as she dissolved into the light of the twin moons. When stars clash and empires tremble, remember that even in ruin there can be creation. The light spread until all of Velra glowed like a newborn star. Years passed. The Dominion became legend, and the story of Xyra became the hymn of rebirth sung beneath the twin moons each night. Kyle built a sanctuary at the edge of the crater where it had all begun. There he planted a single crystal shard glowing softly with silver and crimson light. Pilgrims came from distant worlds to see it, and to hear the tale of the woman who faced gods and chose freedom. And when the wind blew through the valley, it carried her voice faint and kind. "Rise. Always rise." The moons shone above no longer, symbols of war but of unity eternal in their dance across the sky. And so ended the story of Xyra, the ascendant of Velra, the warrior who became the dawn when stars clashed and empires trembled.